The operating room lights burned with sterile intensity as Luna lay motionless beneath the drape, her chest rising and falling on a mechanical rhythm that betrayed the panic in Finn's eyes. He stood at the foot of the table, syringe in hand, blood bags at his side, and for a heartbeat he froze, mind reeling. The hospital had run out of that ultra-rare null blood Luna desperately needed. A hush fell over the team. Grace's hands trembled over the ventilator settings. Lee's gaze flicked between monitors and the door, as if searching for a way out. Finn inhaled sharply, the seconds stretching impossibly long, and finally admitted in a strained whisper, "We don't have enough." Luna's heart flatlined. The beeping that had once marked her frailty now ceased altogether, replaced by a single, ominous tone. Grace stiffened, glancing at Lee. Both knew what this meant: ruin. Reputation shredded, investigations launched, malpractice suits. Lee's voice was tight as guitar string when she suggested they bury the truth, rewrite the records, disguise their hesitation as an unavoidable crisis. Grace nodded, steel replacing fear. Within hours, hospital files would reflect a seamless resuscitation attempt. Luna's fragile survival would be recorded as heroic, her death chalked up to catastrophic hemorrhage beyond their control. They would claim the blood loss was too rapid, too severe. No hint of Finn's hesitation, no mention of the missing supply. That secrecy would protect them all. Meanwhile, in the hall outside the OR, Bridget paced, phone pressed to her ear as she argued with a nurse about Luna's status. Every second that passed felt like an eternity. Then Finn stepped out, scrub cap askew, eyes sunken. Bridget seized him by the shoulders. "How is she?" she demanded, voice thin with dread. Finn looked at her, shame curdling his gaze. I hesitated, he confessed. There wasn't enough blood. Bridget's heart twisted. "Are you saying she's gone?" Finn hesitated again, tears prickling. "We tried, but..." His words trailed off, haunted. Bridget felt the world tilt beneath her. Luna was more than a patient. She was family, hope personified. Fury and grief roiled inside her. "Show me the footage," she said, voice low. Unbeknownst to Grace and Lee, the OR camera, installed to record surgeries for quality control and teaching, had captured every moment. Finn's shock at the empty blood fridge, the flicker of indecision, the scramble for alternatives, the final, devastating flatline. Hours later, after the falsified records were filed and Luna's body transported to the morgue under the guise of unpreventable loss, Bridget sat before a monitor in the quality assurance office, clicking past routine heart valve replacements, gallbladder removals. Her breath caught when she recognized the OR table, the familiar green scrubs, Luna's pale face beneath the drape. She rewound the tape, heart pounding. There it was, Finn, hand hovering above the syringe, eyes flicking to the rows of blood bags, each labeled with a code, none matching Luna's rare type. His hand dropped. Seconds passed. The anesthesiologist's voice rose, urgent. Grace's hands moved faster. Lee barked orders. And then, silence. Luna's chest ceased its mechanical rise. Bridget's breath caught in her throat. The footage burned itself into her mind, proof that the official story was a lie. That night, as the city lights of Los Angeles glittered beyond the hospital windows, Bridget stood at the edge of her own moral collapse. She knew the stakes. Grace, Lee, and Finn were revered figures, mentors and friends to many. A scandal would drown not only their careers, but the hospital's reputation, perhaps even lead to its downfall. Patients would lose faith, donors would withdraw support, lawsuits would follow. But silence felt complicit, a betrayal of Luna, of the oath to do no harm. She had to choose, loyalty to colleagues or loyalty to truth. Her resolve hardened. She would not let them bury this. The next morning, the corridors buzzed with the news of Luna's passing. Flowers and condolences gathered at the nurse's station. Whispers followed every scrubs-clad figure. Grace moved through it like a specter, eyes shadowed, hands clenching paperwork that would never tell the real story. Lee avoided the staff lounge, grinding out coffee in the break room alone. Finn hovered at Bridget's door, guilt etched into every crease of his face. "Bridget, please," he pleaded when she beckoned him in. "Don't show anyone that footage. It's too late to fix this." She looked at him, sorrow and anger warring in her gaze. "Yes, it is too late." "Exactly why I have to," she said softly. His shoulders sagged, defeat setting in. Bridget reached into her bag and pulled out a flash drive. She plugged it into her laptop, the footage loading. Every soul-wrenching second replayed as Finn watched, tears coursing down his cheeks. "Why?" he sobbed. "Why didn't I just call for a helicopter? We could have flown to another hospital." Lee's voice rang in his mind. The rumors would have started. We'd have been blamed for delay. But fear of scandal had cost a life. Finn pressed his head into his hands. Grace's face appeared on the screen, calm but tense, pressing their fabricated narrative. Bridget clicked Save As and copied the file to a secure location. "I'm going public," she said, tone final. "I'll give you one chance to come clean with me. After that, I go to the board, the press, anyone. Everyone will know." Word of Luna's death had already reached the tabloids. The backslash and becasting news had overshadowed the medical anomaly story, but now Bridget's threat loomed. Social media buzzed with speculation. What really happened to that promising young woman? Some murmured about malpractice. Others defended the surgeons. Bridget drafted an anonymous tip to a medical watchdog journalist, summarizing Luna's case and promising the full recording if they agreed to investigate. She sent the tip and leaned back, adrenaline pulsing. This was just the beginning. Grace and Lee convened in an empty conference room, faces drawn. Finn sat between them, guilt pooling in his eyes. "She's going to destroy us," Lee whispered. Grace's knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of the table. "We can't let her," she said, voice low and steady. "We used the falsified records. That's legal barrier 1. Barrier 2, the footage is our only weak point. We need to find out where she stored it and delete it permanently." They devised a plan. Enlist a sympathetic IT specialist to hack into the secure server, locate Bridget's folder, and erase the copy. Meanwhile, they would stage an internal inquiry that blamed a systems error for the camera's inaudible recording. Publicly, the hospital would apologize for technical failures, express condolences to Luna's family, and promise improvements. The scandal would be controlled, contained, and minimized, unless Bridget got to the press first. Bridget, however, had anticipated this. She had placed the recording in the cloud, under an alias with an encrypted key she alone possessed. She also sent copies to Luna's devastated parents, urging them to seek justice. As she walked the hospital corridors, she felt watched. Shadowy figures glimpsed around corners, hushed conversations halting as she approached. Her phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. "Stop this now, or we'll ruin you." No signature. Threatening, but not surprising. She replied, "Dear Worst. I have the truth." She tucked her phone away and pushed forward, determination in every step. Later that day, a press conference was announced. The hospital's PR chief, flanked by Grace, Lee, and Finn, would address Luna's death and the unfortunate technical mishaps. A captive audience of reporters awaited in the auditorium. Cameras lined the back row. Bridget managed to slip inside, press badge in hand under a borrowed name. When the trio took the podium, Grace's voice was steady but hollow as she recited the prepared statement. "We deeply regret the tragic passing of Miss Luna Carter. Despite our best efforts and the heroic work of our surgical team, unforeseen complications contributed to her rapid blood loss. We extend our condolences and are reviewing our systems to prevent future occurrences." As murmurs rippled through the crowd, Bridget stood, tapping her badge against her palm. "Excuse me, Miss Grace, Did you record the surgery in question? Grace's smile faltered. Yes, for training purposes. But the audio was lost due to a technical error. And who has access to that footage? Grace hesitated. It's stored securely, only authorized quality control personnel. So you're saying the video cannot be released for review? Grace's voice wavered. That's correct. At that moment, Bridget pulled out her phone. Actually, I have a copy. And I'm ready to share it with everyone here. Gasps echoed. Reporters scrambled for phones. Grace's face strained. Lee's hand went to her throat. Finn looked as though he might collapse. Before the cameras could roll live, the auditorium doors burst open. Security guards rushed in, cutting microphones. The hospital CEO stormed the stage, flanked by police officers who had received a tip about unauthorized recording and suspected data theft. Bridget was escorted out as Grace, Lee, and Finn watched, shock giving way to triumph and relief. Until the CEO's phone rang. He answered, face paling. Yes, I understand. Understood. He turned to Grace, Lee, and Finn. We have a problem. Miss Bridget wasn't bluffing. Our cloud servers show a public leak. The CEO held up his phone, displaying a viral news site. The footage was already online, shared by Luna's family, devastating and irrefutable. Comments scrolled. How could they? Justice for Luna. Medical cover-up. The auditorium exploded in chaos. In the moments before security could separately detain Grace, Lee, and Finn, Bridget witnessed their faces. Grace's controlled composure shattered, Lee's defiant glare, Finn's hollow guilt. Luna's heart had stopped because of them, and now the truth pulsed through every screen, every headline. Careers would collapse, the hospital would face investigations, lawsuits would mount, but the soul of medicine would be honored at last. Luna would not be silenced. As she stepped into the corridor, police lights flashing behind her, Bridget knew the battle had only begun, but the tide had turned. The ticking time bomb had detonated, and in its wake lay the promise of justice and redemption for Luna and for all who believe that truth must prevail, no matter the cost. Over the past year, Sheila Carter waged a relentless campaign to break through Steffy Forrester's implacable wall of rejection, determined to win not only a place in the storied Forrester dynasty, but also vital access to her own son, John Finn Finnegan, whose life and heart had become inextricably bound to Ridge's formidable daughter. Night after night, Sheila replayed every word of every encounter with Steffy in her mind, searching for an opening, an expression of doubt, a flicker of compassion she could exploit. Convinced that beneath Steffy's icy armor lay the same craving for love and belonging that had driven Sheila through decades of scheming and sacrifice, and yet every effort was rebuffed, every olive branch snapped in two, every fragile, tentative truth shattered before it could blossom into trust. In her relentless quest, Sheila navigated the stormy currents of Los Angeles gossip, bribed confidants in the hospital and the design studio, attended charity galas under assumed names, left unsigned bouquets at the Forrester estate gates, and sent anonymous letters extolling her transformation from ruthless survivor to repentant mother. Yet all Steffy saw was the ghost of the woman who had once kidnapped her children, meddled in her marriage, and threatened the lives of everyone she claimed to love. Then came the day that would upend every calculation and threaten to shatter them all. Luna Nozawa, young, fragile, desperate for a bond with a father she barely knew, succumbed to despair and fury. Her grief and fury erupting into violent action when Steffy refused yet again to sanction any contact. Armed with a pistol smuggled into the under-construction art school on the Forrester campus, Luna stormed into the studio where Steffy was sketching new runway silhouettes, accusing her of stealing Finn's affections, blaming her for every moment of estrangement, every tear Luna had shed in lonely darkness. Steffy froze, The pistol's cold barrel a terrible punctuation to Luna's anguished declarations that only by eliminating Steffy could Luna reclaim her rightful place in Finn's heart. Could she purge the last barrier between herself and a father she believed had been stolen from her? But before Luna could pull the trigger, Sheila, hearing a frantic call from Finn about an unfolding crisis, burst through the swinging doors, eyes wide with horror as she saw her granddaughter poised to commit an irreversible atrocity. With no thought for her own safety, Sheila lunged, grappling with Luna for control of the gun, her heart pounding with equal parts maternal terror and determination to protect the woman who had consistently shunned her, because no pain compared to the knowledge that her actions, however misguided, had at the very least been driven by a daughter's love for her child. The two tumbled across the polished hardwood floor, camera phones in the student gallery clicking, art supplies scattering like confetti, until Luna, in a panic that warped her vision, squeezed the trigger. The shot rang out with shocking finality, Sheila crumpling to the floor in a pool of crimson that blossomed across her blouse. Steffy, horrified, threw herself forward to shield Luna, only to freeze as the terrified girl staggered back, the gun shaking in her small hand. A second shot echoing through the room as Luna's mind fractured completely, and she realized in a heartbeat too late that she had fatally wounded the one person who had risked everything to save a stranger she had always vilified. Sheila's body lay motionless, her final heartbeat drowned by the deafening silence that followed, broken only by Steffy's ragged sobs and Luna's scream of disbelief and anguish that morphed into something fiercer than revenge, something dangerously untethered. As she leveled the gun first at Steffy, whose arms were still outlung protectively over Sheila's still form, and then at herself, the weight of what she had done crushing her under a tsunami of guilt. But destiny had one more twist in store. On the threshold of the shattered studio strode Liam Spencer, driven by frantic reports of an emergency and visions of Steffy in mortal peril. Crashing through the doors with a primal roar of rage and fear that diverted Luna's attention for a single heartbeat. Enough time for her teetering rage to find a new target, and another shot's thunder to slam into Liam's chest, just below the collarbone, sending him reeling backward in a spray of dust and shattered plaster, collapsing beside Sheila's fallen form. His hand pressed uselessly to a wound that bled bright in the dim light. In the stunned hush that followed, only 3 pulses remained. Steffy's frantic racing heart, Luna's panicked thudding pulse, and the slight flicker of life left in Liam and Sheila, the two who lay gravely wounded on the same floor where art supplies littered the ground like the broken dreams of everyone gathered in that space. Somewhere in the chaos, the art teacher who had witnessed the horror from her hiding place behind a locked closet door stumbled out, her face ashen, hands trembling as she dialed 911. Luna sank to her knees, gun clattering to the floor, tears streaming down her cheeks as she cradled Sheila's head in her lap, her grief crashing through her soft sobs. "Grandma, Grandma, please don't leave me," she whispered, each word soaked in horror and regret. Steffy rose shakily to her feet, eyes wild, and bent over Liam, cradling his head and calling his name, her voice cracking with relief and dread as she lifted his eyelid to find him fading in and out of consciousness. In that suspended moment, the world outside the makeshift studio corridor fell away, sirens wailed in the distance, red and blue lights began to pulse through the broken windows, and every soul present felt the weight of what had transpired. 3 lives hanging in the balance, 1 gunshot capable of irreparable loss, 1 bullet carving a path through betrayal, misguided love, and the desperate yearning for acceptance. As paramedics flooded the room, treating Liam first, administering airways to Sheila, and calming Luna with gentle words while Steffy insisted on staying by Liam's side, the rumor mill among the Forrester faithful churned with speculation. Who would survive? Would Luna face justice, or would her fractured psyche shield her from full accountability? Might Liam awaken to find himself on yet another cliffhanger, Steffy's devoted husband fighting for life because of someone he had barely known, someone who viewed him as an obstacle to a deeper bond? And most pressing of all, would Sheila, the once reviled matriarch whose dark past had been stained by schemes and betrayals, emerge from this carnage, bullet wound in her torso, life flickering like a candle in the wind? As a tragic hero in the eyes of the daughter, who had refused to see her mother as anything but a monster, behind the scenes, whispers spoke of a third victim beyond Sheila and Liam. Some speculated it was the art teacher, caught in the crossfire, or even Steffy herself, vulnerable and unguarded. Others suggested Luna might be the one carried away on a stretcher, her escape routes sealed as the police moved in to secure the crime scene. Yet an anonymous leak, purported to be a preview of the September 8th episode, promised Luna's return, hinting at a flashback or a courtroom drama that would reveal the girl's tortured motivations and perhaps offer a glimpse of redemption or further tragedy. In the wards of Los Angeles Memorial that night, Steffy hovered by Liam's bedside, her face a mask of fear and fierce devotion. She clasped Sheila's hand, feeling its ice-cold stillness, tears burning her cheeks as she whispered, "You were my hero, even when I refused."